Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Howick.
And I'm Sue Abrams. A Darlington man now begins a 21-year prison sentence for voluntary manslaughter. Arthur Coe pleaded guilty to the lesser charge yesterday and was sentenced in circuit court. Coe could have received 30 years for his crime. He was charged with the murder of Clifford Hart, an elderly Darlington man. Hart was found dead outside a Darlington florist shop several weeks ago. Authorities say the motive was robbery. Sue? Thanks, Valerie. Buckling up is closer to becoming state law, but efforts in the legislature to keep it optional are gaining strength. And as reporter Melanie Smith tells us, if the mandatory seatbelt measure passes, it won't be by many votes.
Sue?
The Darlington County School Board has banned the delivery of flowers to area schools. And as Randy Roush tells us, a number of flower shops expect to feel the effects at the cash register come Valentine's Day.
The sale.
And when Action News continues, we'll look at what's been happening across the state.
And we'll tell you about a local wine that's going to market in the Far East. Please stay with us. It looks like there will be gold from the hills of Chesterfield County again. County council members learned today the gold mine in the town of Jefferson will be reopened, bringing about 70 jobs to the area. A Denver, Colorado company with offices in Charlotte will start mining operations in about 6 months and plans to bring gold out for the next 6 to 10 years. They'll use an extracting process which also takes some silver and gold from leftover rocks. When the mine reopens, it will pump about $1.5 million each year into the local economy.
Sue?
Bob, we hear a lot these days about the trade deficit. The U.S. imports many foreign goods but has trouble selling its products in other countries. As Randall King tells us, one local company has managed to crack through the trade barrier, and it may pave the way for more products from South Carolina.
Thank you, Sue.
Tonight, tax specialist Paul Strassels continues his report on last-time tax deductions, brought to you by Cherokee BMW Sales and Leasing.
I've been telling you about
Let me just say that we'd all look like that if we were out in Tahiti with some really nice swimsuits.
Oh, I don't want to look like that.
Well, we women.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm really looking forward to that part of the sports.
Oh, that's coming up in just a little while, so hang on.
I won't forget it. Maybe not all of us would look like that.
Oh, this flash, the Bob Howick and Steve Capps Muscle Beach calendar should be out soon, so you don't want to miss that one. I know you women want equal time.
I'll pass on that. We'll be right back.
And that's our look at this Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody.
I'll be waiting for that calendar. Good night. Good evening, I'm Sue Abrams.
And I'm Bob Howick.
Newly re-elected Florence Mayor Rocky Pierce says he's learned some valuable lessons from last night's narrow victory over Cooper Tedder. Pierce received only 142 more votes than his challenger, and he admits he might have ruffled a few feathers during his first term.
But yesterday, it really,
The mayor says his first order of business is clearing up all the paperwork from the campaign. Today marked the official grand opening of the new JCPenney department store at the Magnolia Mall. But as Randall King tells us, the increase in business at that shopping center means a loss for the Florence Mall, and smaller merchants hope the old Penny's building won't be empty for long.
When Action News continues, we'll take a look at what's been happening across the state.
And in Myrtle Beach, they're blocking off still more streets. The Darlington Fire Department is back in the smoke detector business. Last week, we told you how the firefighters ran out of alarms they had been giving away to the needy and elderly. Today, the Darlington Kiwanis Club came to the rescue with a $300 donation that will pay for 50 alarms. And the assistant chief says the alarms will go quickly. Blackman says the department will continue fundraising efforts to pay for more smoke detectors. If you tried to get home from school or work on Hoffmeyer Road, you were probably late today. Two cars collided right in the middle of the intersection of Hoffmeyer and Ebenezer Roads. That backed up traffic for more than a half hour until authorities could remove those cars. The Highway Patrol says at least 3 people were taken to McLeod Hospital for examination. The crash is under investigation. Well, spring is in the air, and if you're one of those people who relishes the thought of growing your own vegetables this year, Valerie Calhoun has some tips from the experts. Valerie?
Well, Sue, I've learned one thing.
Sue?
In tonight's Tax Tips, Paul Strassels reviews the kinds of taxes you can deduct from your income. This segment is brought to you by Cherokee BMW Sales and Leasing. So Coastal Carolina and FMC, big rivals, right?
Oh, in all sports, but in baseball especially, they don't like each other. Not at all.
2,000 Grand school children had the privilege of listening to a 15-year-old violin virtuoso today.
Her name is Midori, and she's played with the New York Philharmonic, among other orchestras. Here's a sample of what the kids heard. Have a good night. We'll see you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Howick.
And I'm Sue Abrams. The facts are becoming clear today after yesterday's bizarre murder-suicide. Lawmen from Georgetown to the PD spent the day searching for the area man who kidnapped his estranged wife. But authorities now know their efforts were in vain. Valerie Calhoun tells us officials think the shootings occurred right after the kidnapping took place. Valerie?
That's right, Sue. Well,
Thank you, Valerie. Darlington County authorities are looking for a dirt-covered bandit. Witnesses say the blond man who held up the Curtis Mathis Home Entertainment Center was covered in dirt from head to toe. The suspect used an automatic handgun and fled on foot with an undisclosed amount of cash, but no one was hurt in the noontime robbery. Bob?
Well,
Florence voters are still deciding who will be their next mayor, and as Margaret Schofield tells us, the mood on this election day was as sunny as the weather. Two other candidates are seeking re-election today to the Florence City Council. They are Fred Samra and James Schofield. Samra, a downtown merchant, is finishing his first term as councilman, and so is Schofield. Neither candidate has any Democratic opposition. Bob?
thank you.
Nearly 50 business leaders from across the state met in Myrtle Beach today to talk transportation. South Carolinians for Better Transportation is working to promote improvements in the state highway system. Former Myrtle Beach Mayor Eric Ficken was on hand and said the group thinks the state's economic future depends on a good transportation network. The group's goal is to spread the idea that good roads translate into good business. A heart attack can strike anyone, anywhere, and all of us need to be aware of the warning signs. Dr. Red Duke reviews those signs tonight in this segment brought to you by the Mullins and Marion Memorial Hospitals. Bad news for USC. Luckily, I went to a school with a completely unscathed athletic record.
Well, we won't get into that.
No, let's not.
But yes, USC finally got the word today, and bad news.
Sounds good. We'll be right back.
That's our look at this election day, this Tuesday. Thank you for joining us, everybody.
Good night.